Hello and welcome to the final predicted lineups video from Draft Gym TV. As always, you are joined by me, Andy, FPL Teach Mode, and today we are going to be talking about Group F. Look at that, look, I've nailed it on the last video. So we're going to be talking about Group F, and this is all to do with FanTeam's Daily Fantasy Euro 2020 tournament, £1 million guaranteed prize pool, and it starts on the 11th of June, so we do not have long left, only 9 days left. Now, Group F, the group of death, is something that I have really been looking forward to talking to you about because there's so many talking points, so many great players, so many great teams, loads of nailed players as well, which is what I really like about this group. So we're going to be talking about it a bit today. Now, this is Draft Gym TV. We come here from draftgym.com. Make sure you do go and visit it. We're pumping out loads of content at the moment, all to do with the Euros, so make sure you do go and visit. And if you haven't signed up for FanTeam yet and haven't signed up for the tournament, give it a go. You've got yourself 9 days. That is perfect amount of time to look through all the videos I've already done, groups A through to E and then F today, and we will be bringing you more content as the week goes on as well, so make sure... My hat's all a bit funny, isn't it? So make sure you go through and get in as much content as possible. Now, Group F, the group of death. It is called that because it is made up of Hungary, bless them, Germany, France and Portugal. Now, Germany, France and Portugal, any other year you'd be thinking they all are favourites to win this group. You know, Germany, they've got the history. They know how to win tournaments. They know how to win on penalties. God. France obviously have one of the best squads in the entire competition, and Portugal as well have one of the best squads in the competition too. So this could be an interesting group. Now, what I am hoping is that not all three go through. Not all three of Germany, Portugal and France go through, but I'm finding it hard to see any way in which they won't. Poor Hungary. We will skim over, well, not skim over Hungary. We will talk about Hungary, but they're not looking in the best position to be able to get out of this group, I'm afraid, especially with their key player now being injured and not featuring in this tournament. So let's start. Actually, before we start, like and subscribe, guys. Keep liking and subscribing. Love the fact we're almost getting up to 200 subscriptions now, and we've only been alive for a week. So definitely keep liking and subscribing. That'll really help. Thank you. So let's start with France's team. Now, the biggest news with France's team is up front, but we're going to get onto that in a minute. Looking at the back, Lloris nailed on 7 million. 7 million for a group of death keeper, I think, is a bit too much for me. But he is completely nailed. You know he'll be playing. I'm not seeing a lot of shots that he could potentially concede, but then he is in a group with Germany and Portugal, so maybe he will. I just think 7 million for a player that's in a group of death is a bit too much. We'll do exactly the same when we're thinking about the defenders as well. The defenders, I would say, I would be very shocked if this wasn't the defence. Varane, yep, 6.5 million. Again, he's 0.5 million cheaper than Lloris, and obviously he can get you some attack and returns if he's going up for corners as well. I think he will be alongside Kimpembe. Kimpembe's had a very good season. I don't see why he shouldn't be there. The 0.5 million there difference, I think, is because Kimpembe is potentially not nailed compared to Varane. Varane will 100% be playing. Kimpembe, I'm on about 90% sure. But that's probably where the 0.5 million difference comes from. And then the wing-backs, Hernandez and Pavard, obviously both playing for Bayern Munich at the moment. 6.5 million. I think it's tough to say whether that isn't justified because... they get forward. I mean, Pavard in the last, was it in the World Cup? That beautiful goal where he hit it and kind of glanced over the ball. They will get forward. They both had great seasons. There's no reason why you can't be picking them. What I'm going to do, I think, as I carry forward, because otherwise I'm going to be saying this all the time, I'm going to be picking these as assets and telling you whether I think they're going to do well. Yes, we're thinking about the group stages. There's no reason why France can't do incredibly well in this group stage and beat the likes of Germany and Hungary and maybe do well against Portugal as well. It's going to be tough to try and think about it. They're playing Portugal in the last game, so you can pick these players thinking how they're going to do against Hungary and Germany. I think France and Portugal are going to be really fighting out to try and finish first in this group. I think Germany are going to be the ones that probably finish third, and then Hungary I don't give much of a chance, unfortunately. So I think you can pick these French players with some degree of certainty that they should do well in the first two games. And I think because of their group of death, they're going to be overlooked quite a lot. I see them keeping a clean sheet against Hungary. they could potentially keep a clean sheet against Germany as well and do quite well attacking-wise against Germany. And then you get on to Portugal, and that will be by the third week, so by the third match day. So I think you can look at this and think, yeah, potentially I'm quite happy with picking French players. Now, when you look in their midfield, I know it's kind of a flat back five here. It won't be a flat back five when they actually play. Mbappe will definitely be supporting the lone striker there. Pogba, France play very, very well when Pogba's in there. When they won the World Cup, Pogba was instrumental. He was getting assists. He was getting goals. He is not the Pogba that we would probably be used to seeing with Manchester United. I think he is a different beast with France, especially because their defence is so much better. They've got those holding midfielders. You know, anybody playing in front of Kante knows they don't have to do as much defensive work. So I think Pogba for 8.5 million could actually be a good pick. I know a lot of people out there will be thinking, no, surely not Pogba, but genuinely, he does play completely differently for France than he does for Manchester United. So I think for 8.5 million, he's fine. I think N'Golo Kante wouldn't be going anywhere near. It's not his role. His role is to be able to get back and make sure he's shielding that back four and make sure that all the players in front of him have the license to just roam free. So I think N'Golo Kante for 7 million, I don't see that at all. Coman on the right there. Coman, it could be Coman and Mbappe supporting Benzema. I think it's a toss-up between Coman being there and Rabiot being there. I don't think Rabiot will be on the wing. I think then Rabiot will be in the middle and it'll be more of a 4-4-2 with Mbappe supporting Benzema. But if it is Coman that's preferred, I think it would be Kante and Pogba kind of pulling back a bit, and then Griezmann up top with Mbappe and Coman. I mean, this team has just got so much talent. So I wouldn't be touching Coman for 9 million. I think that's tough to justify somebody where I'm not even sure whether he's going to be in there. If it is Rabiot in there, again, I'm going to struggle to justify him as well because he's going to be more of a defensive player. If Rabiot is in there, I think that frees up Griezmann even more to be making sure he's pushing up with Benzema. Benzema is yet to be priced up in the game. He has had a very good season for Real Madrid. He's shown everybody why he deserved to be called up. Because of this group of death, I'm going to be struggling to pick Benzema, I think. Griezmann is somebody that did very, very well last year, and I think for 10.5 million, he's not that bad of an option. I think he is one of their talismans. You know, Mbappe's the other one. I think for 2.5 million less than Mbappe, I don't mind Griezmann as a pick. I think Mbappe is the person that could potentially rip Hungary to shreds. I think he could do quite well against a bit of an aging Germany defence as well. So actually, I think there are some real options in this France team. If it were me and I had to pick who I wanted from this team, I want to see where Benzema's priced at. I think he's going to be priced around 9.5, 10 million. I think it's going to be hard to go without Mbappe. You've seen what you can do in Champions League. You've seen what you can do on this stage before as well. But for 13 million, it's so hard to part with that money. I think Griezmann is a great shout. I think a lot of people are going to be going with Mbappe and completely ignoring Griezmann. And I think that makes me like Griezmann a little bit more. But I think for me, Mbappe, Griezmann, and then one of the wing-backs, I think would be my picks from this France team. I don't think you can go too wrong. As long as you're not picking somebody like Kante or Rabiot, if it is him that plays, I don't think you can go too wrong with this team because they're going to be doing well. And I do fancy them to still be first in this group, maybe be second because of Portugal. I actually fancy France to win this group. If I'm going to stick my neck out now, I think they're going to do better than Portugal in this group. And as I said, I think Mbappe, Griezmann, and then one of those wing backs, Pavard or Hernandez, I think would be my picks. Such a good group to talk about, though. We now move on to Germany, and I think this German team might struggle in this group. I think these are going to be the casualties of being in the group of death, unfortunately. They still might make it through anyway, which is fine, you know, but I think I'm really struggling to pick any German players in my team at the moment because I think they will struggle in this group of death. They have France first, and then they have Portugal, and then in the last one they do have Hungary. So maybe it's worth putting them in for that Hungary game when they might be fighting for their survival in this tournament. Neuer, absolutely nailed. I think for 6.5 million, it looks like he's a bit more of a bargain than Lloris, but I'm worrying how many clean sheets Germany are going to keep. In the last fixture, I think fair enough against Hungary. They most probably will get a clean sheet in that game. But against France, against Portugal, I struggle to see it. That then also goes for their defence. Rudiger, I think, will be coupled with Hummels. Hummels has been brought back in. I think he's been brought back in to start. He gives them that leadership at the back as well. Rudiger's had a great season with Chelsea. I don't see many clean sheets, like I said, which is why I would probably go with Goossens at left back more than anybody else. I think he's had a great season for Atalanta, 5.5 million. I think is probably the best value in this German defence. Considering I don't see many clean sheets, I think for 5.5 million, with the fact that he could be getting some attack and returns with assists and things as well, I think he's probably the way to go. Klosterman, I am most probably thinking is going to be starting a right back. He hasn't been priced up yet, but it's a bit of a rotation risk there, so I would be a little bit wary. When you look at this midfield, Toni Kroos, 7.5 million. I mean, actually, all of them are much of a muchness, really. 7.5 million for Toni Kroos. Gundogan, 8 million. Kimmich, 8 million as well. Kimmich is actually... He's done a lot better attacking-wise than you would think in this German side, especially during qualifying. Nothing spectacular, but he does better than you think he does. So for 8 million... It's a tough ask, I think, for the other players you could get in midfield. I've got to keep saying it. They're in this group of death. So I'm wondering how many attack and returns he's really going to be getting. Toni Kroos can get attack and returns against any team because of his set piece duties. And he's just a classy player, isn't he? You know, it doesn't matter who he's playing against. You know you're going to get something out of him. So I think 7.5 million, I'd probably favour him over Kimmich. And then Gundogan... It's going to be really interesting, the friendlies, to see how they use Gundogan. He was Manchester City's top goal scorer this year, but are they going to be using Gundogan in that shadow striker role which Man City were playing him in? I don't think they will be. If there is any indication he will be, you know, he's in great form. He knows where the back of the net is. So for 8 million, he could be a shout. But again, how many goals are they going to be scoring against France and Portugal? Not many. He could be a good shout to put in against Hungary for that last match day fixture. So just keep an eye on him then. Now up front is where it starts to get quite exciting, I think, because they could score some goals against Hungary, and you never know, they might wipe out a clean sheet of France and Portugal. I don't see it personally, but if you're optimistic, then Gnabry and Sane, I think, are great shouts. Gnabry has just gone from strength to strength since he left Arsenal. How many players can we say that about? And is 9 million. Sane, 8.5 million next to him for 0.5 million less. Muller, we know his goal scoring pedigree in these competitions. He absolutely loves to score goals. He's a really strange player because you look at him and think, I'm not sure what your actual strengths are, but he always gets goals. He always plays well, and he does have that guile and that intelligence to be able to play up top. When you've got Gnabry and Sane, who I think haven't necessarily done it on the international stage like Muller has, I think he's great to have with them. If you look at that front six, it does look lovely. It's just a shame they're in that group of death. If they were in another group, you'd be picking some German players and feeling quite confident, and it would open up that many more options. But I think you ought to look at these players for that game against Hungary, because I think that's probably when you're going to get the most joy with them. If I had to pick between Sane and Gnabry, I think I would probably... Oh, it's tough. I think I'd probably go with Sane for that 0.5 million cheaper. I do like both of them. I really do. The problem with Sane is obviously injuries, but in a small tournament like this, you'd hope that he wouldn't get injured, but you never know with Sane. Now, moving on to the whipping boys. Sorry, Hungary. I've got to call you the whipping boys. I am really worried that Hungary might make it out of this group without a goal. I'm genuinely worried. I'm also worried they might get absolutely destroyed on goal difference. You know, we're looking at potentially, -8, -9, even -10 by the time they get out of this group. I had real hope for them at one point that they might show what they've got when they had Szoboszlai come in. Unfortunately, he is now not going to be playing. He is now going to be... There was worries about him anyway, and it seems like the injuries got the better of him, and he won't be representing Hungary in this tournament. I'm absolutely gutted about that. We'll talk about it in a minute because I want to go up through from goalkeeper all the way to striker. Galaxy most probably going to be in goal. He will be 4 million just to mirror the defence as well. Lang, Orban and Shalai are nailed. They're going to be playing. And Galaxy is most probably going to be playing as well for 4 million though. I mean, yes, you're hoping for save points, but they're going to get they're going to get destroyed every game, I think. Even against Germany, I fancy Germany scoring a few past them. So Hungary are my whipping boys in this tournament, and they've just unlucky that they've been put into this group. Now, Hollander and Lovrencic are both players that are going to be playing in wing backs. I think that I wouldn't be picking them for 4.5 million. Lovrencic is 4 million, but I still wouldn't be picking them at all. Nagy and God, I've got to try and get these names right. Kleinheisler, 4 million each. There's a reason they're 4 million. You're not going to be expecting much from them. Szoboszlai was going to be that player. I fancied him to announce himself on the world stage. Yes, he's the most expensive Hungary player ever. Yes, he now plays for Red Bull Leipzig, but I was hoping that Szoboszlai could really announce himself and everybody would be able to say his name, spell his name, and know who he was. But unfortunately, he's not there. Now, I think whatever hope Hungary had has been completely demolished with him going out of their squad. Yes, they're playing a few games at home, which is great. But at the same time, I still don't expect anything from this Hungary team. If they get a point, then they've exceeded my expectations. I am sorry. That's just how I see it. Szoboszlai being out, it really hurts. Salai up top, 4 million. I think that speaks for itself. But then Zhilai, I think for 4.5 million, it's a shame. He isn't actually that bad of an option. He's had a really good season. It's just a shame he's playing in this Hungary team against France, Germany and Portugal, which means that you wouldn't touch him with a barge pole, unfortunately. Sorry, Hungary fans. Then let's move on to Portugal, which is a lot of people's dark horses for this tournament. And when I say dark horses, I mean, France are heavy favourites. England are heavy second favourites. Portugal, I think, have one of the best squads that the Euros have probably seen for a long time. They've got match winners all over the pitch. They've got league winners all over the pitch as well. And I think they could do very well in this group. I think they're going to tackle France and see if they can beat France to first place. And I can see it. I do think France are going to win this group personally, because I think Portugal maybe don't have that expertise like France do. Although Portugal won the last Euros, I feel like France are just more of a professional outfit compared to Portugal. I could be completely wrong there. Portugal could absolutely rout France, and that would really put the cat amongst the pigeons. But if we have a look, Patricio at 6 million. When you consider Lloris is 7 million, when you consider Neuer is 6.5 million, Patricio is nailed in this Portugal team, and he's a million less than Lloris. So I think for 6 million, that's absolutely fine. They will most likely keep clean sheets. Against France, they might struggle, but against Germany and Hungary, there's every reason to believe they keep clean sheets. Ruben Dias has just had an absolutely incredible season for Manchester City. The same with Cancelo on the right there. I think both of them are good picks. I think 6 million for Dias is good. I really like 6 million for Dias. Considering Guerrero and Cancelo are both 6.5. Yes, they're going to be getting forward. Yes, Cancelo loves getting forward. We've seen that, and he loves drifting into the middle. But I think Dias for 6 million is good value. Pepe, it doesn't matter whether he comes in at 5 million, I won't be touching him. He's a walking red card. I don't like him as a player. I don't like him as a person. So I won't be picking him. But I think Guerrero and Cancelo, if you wanted to stretch that extra 0.5 million, there's absolutely no problem at all picking one of those players. Now, Moutinho and Danilo are both going to be defensive players. They're both going to be shielding that back four. Cancelo and Guerrero then can get forward a bit more because you've got that double defensive pivot in there. Fernandes at 9 million, I think, is a really interesting price point. I think for 9 million, considering what he's done in the Premier League this year, you have to think about the fact that he won't be on penalties. He is a great player. He's a great penalty taker, but with Cristiano Ronaldo taking the penalties, I do wonder if that is slightly overpriced for Bruno Fernandes. I could be eating my words here. I could be completely wrong by the end of the tournament. It's really interesting to think about the fact that Moutinho and Danilo will move backwards, so there will be license to roam forward for Bruno. He doesn't necessarily have that. He doesn't really have to think about defending in this team, I wouldn't say. Whereas for Manchester United, he does occasionally get back. He does occasionally have to make last-ditch tackles. I don't feel like he'd be doing that for Portugal. I feel like they're going to have enough protection behind him that he can get forward. If he is consistently on the edge of the box, consistently in the box, then 9 million could be a snip for him. But I do wonder and worry how much he's going to be able to do without penalties. It really is. Genuinely, it's a worry. We've thought about this with Manchester United all year. Take the penalties away. How good of an asset is he? He's a great player. I'm a Man United fan. He's a great player. He's taken us to another level. But you've got to think about this objectively and just think, is 9 million for a player that isn't going to be on penalties for Portugal, isn't the main man for Portugal, is that where your money is best spent? And I'm wondering whether it is. Against France, it's going to be a tight game. Against Germany, I expect them to win, but it could be a tight game as well. Is 9 million spent on Bruno Fernandes really the way to go? Up to you to decide. Up top, though, Cristiano Ronaldo, 10 million. You know what you're getting with him. You're getting penalties. You're getting. He scored 100 goals for Juventus in the last 3 years, which is just incredible. He's still a goal scorer. It doesn't matter what age he is. He's an absolute machine. I think for 10 million, he's going to be in my team because they're playing against Hungary first. So, you want to try and get off the blocks really quickly. Next to him, I think there's a little bit. We're not sure what's going to happen. I think Bernardo Silva will definitely play. By the way, Bernardo Silva at 8 million, he's got a great record for Portugal, great record in qualifying. I think for 1 million less than Bruno, this is where I start thinking about that value. Is the value really there with Bruno when you've got Bernardo Silva there, who is actually probably returning just as much of a rate as Bruno Fernandes is? Then I would prefer João Felix to be next to Ronaldo, but there is a lot of chat about Diogo Jota being there as well. If it was a toss-up between the two, I'd go with Felix. I absolutely love Felix as a player, but Jota could be coming in there, and I think that is the position that would be rotated if they're looking for a goal. I feel like they'd take Felix off and bring Jota on, or if they start with Jota, it'd be Felix coming on to try and find a goal. So it's hard to pick them, especially when you've got Bernardo Silva at 8 million next to him as well. I'm struggling to go between the two. If Felix is nailed, I think he's worth a little look, but if he's not, I think I'm struggling to justify 8.5 million. So for me in this Portugal team, I think Ronaldo has to be a shoo-in, obviously. I think Bernardo Silva as well, I think I would favour over Bruno Fernandes, which sounds mad, but I think I would. And then I think it would be between Diaz and one of those wing-backs as well. But Patricio at 6 million, also a great shout. And so we move on to our best of Group F. Now, I will say we made these teams before the knowledge that Szoboszlai was injured, so I do apologise that he's in both of our teams here. Just goes to show how much we're going to miss him. Galaxy in goal and Orban in defence, I don't think I'd agree with. This is Motley Barnett's team that he has put together. He gives himself a bit of a price budget. He doesn't just pick his best players. He picks them based on a bit of a price budget restraint that he goes with. I should, by the way, say thank you so much, Motley Barnett, for everything you've done for these videos, because you've been fantastic. Galaxy and Orban, I don't think I'd go with. I would definitely not have Pepe either. Considering last time, it was loads of stuff I agree with. This time, not so much. I think I would be picking Diaz instead of Pepe. I think Orban and Galaxy, I think you're hoping for some kind of save points, clean sheets, and I don't think they're going to be coming, so I wouldn't go with either of those. I think I would go with a French defender in there. I think I would probably go for Kimpembe. I do really like him. Or Pavard. Pavard, I still have visions of him last time, and I really do like him as a player. So I think I'd go for one of those instead of that. Gosens I really like. I think he's been linked with Leicester as well. I think he's a great player. I think I would quite fancy him. It's just the fact, I don't see him keeping many clean sheets. And then, sorry, my phone's going off. Then, in midfield, I think there's a few controversial ones here from Motley. Bernardo Silva, yes, I like, and I would pick him over Bruno Fernandes. Szoboszlai is not going to be playing, unfortunately, so we can't pick him. And N'Golo Kante, I would not be going anywhere near. I would not be going anywhere near N'Golo Kante. I think it's tough because you can only pick a certain amount of players, obviously, can't you? So I wouldn't be going anywhere near him. I think if I would be going for a French midfielder, let's just have a quick look back again. I think I'd be going for Pogba over him, personally, based on what Pogba can do in this French team. Toni Kroos, yeah, nothing wrong with Toni Kroos. I think it's interesting to look at Gundogan, like we said, and to see whether he is going to be playing in the same kind of role he's been playing for Man City this year. And then up top, I've got no problem with up top. Muller, yes, he knows how to score his goal in tournaments. If there's anything you're going to get from him, you're going to get returns. Mbappe, absolutely fine with Mbappe. I do think Mbappe and Griezmann are closer than people think they are, but Mbappe just has that explosiveness, so I don't have a problem with that at all. And then Ronaldo, captain against Hungary, nailed on for me. I don't think there's anything wrong with that pick whatsoever. So that concludes our predicted lineups, Group A all the way through to Group F. I hope you've enjoyed them. If you have, make sure to like and subscribe. I will be bringing out some more content before the tournament starts, and that will be focusing on how to make your teams, what teams I've got. Maybe I'll do a little bit of a judging your teams as well. That might be quite nice too. So thank you so much. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you go to Draft Gym. Make sure you go to FanTeam and get all your content in now while you've got 9 days to do it. From me and from everybody at Draft Gym, a massive oi oi.